Hi, how are you?
Hello, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. How have you been?
Everything is okay. How about you?
Good. Give me 1 second because there's a student who is trying to get into the meeting and I just want to make sure he has it.
Okay.
Give me 1 moment. I apologize. Oh, you got it, Hassan. Good.
Yeah, I got it.
I was just logging into my email to make sure that you were able to get in. Hi, Jordan. So I haven't seen some of you in a while. Norman, how have you been?
I'm okay. I'm on campus, so yeah, everything is going
You-
on
You're,
well. Yeah.
you're on campus?
Mhm.
Wow. It
Yeah.
must be quiet there.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna pause this for a minute. So although Mark's name is on the presentation, I told him that we would be good on our own. I think we'll be okay tonight. So I'm kind of curious, before we get started, if you can just tell me, what are some of the classes that you're going to be studying in the fall? Are you going to be on campus or do you plan to be online? Because I think that's important, especially when we're planning on talking about study skills and stuff, because I do think you need to approach things a little bit differently. So Norman, are you planning on being on campus or online?
Yeah, I'll be on campus, I think, but just because I have some classes that I need to do like in person, like lab classes. So yeah, I'll be on campus.
Okay. And even if you're living on campus, you may still have classes that are solely online. So those of you that are in my English 5 next semester, it will be remote. So I don't know, I don't know what's going to happen if we'll be able to come into campus at all by the end of the semester. Who knows? But most of mine will be remote. Okay. Max, are you going to be taking face to face or all online?
Yeah, I'm gonna have the class on campus. So
Okay. What about you, Hassan?
I have to be on campus because of our season, so I'm taking all on-campus classes.
Okay. All right. And Jordan, are you going to be here, do you think?
Yes, yes, I can hear you now.
Are you going to be coming to the United
Great
States?
to see you. I'm going to the class online because I'm in China now. So yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know if you would be able to get over here, if you were going to be attending classes face to face, or if you were going to be
Mhm.
continuing with online.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So, if you are in China, good morning. If you're here in the United States, it's good evening, right? It's getting late. I don't know what parts of the United States you're in. I think Hassan and I are both on the East Coast, right, Hassan?
Yeah,
Okay. All right. So let's get started. This is a topic that if you are a grad student, especially one that intends to be working with students at some point, I think to approach this workshop from the perspective of how you can best, not just for yourself, but also how you can support your students, right? If you're an undergrad, and I don't know if all of you will agree, but I definitely can say that I think this semester, the fall semester, was challenging. Let's put it that way, right? It wasn't what you expected if you were a freshman. Even if you are not a freshman, if you're a sophomore or a senior, or a junior, it still was not what you're used to for most of you. And I know some of you did have online classes at the end of your senior year of high school and stuff, but this is not what anybody planned for. So, and I know Jordan too. Jordan and I have worked together. So I know being in another country, it can be challenging because you feel so separated from your teachers and your instructors and working online. I was an online student. I did an entire degree online. So I know that a lot of times I felt like I was in it alone. So it's just a good thing to have some tips in your tool belt, like ways that you could try and make your life a little bit easy. Um, and approaching studying is something that there actually is a science behind it. Okay, so as a teacher, I think it's important. And these are things that I would remind my students of to try and find what works for them. And also as a student, as a learner, I always think it's important. So um, today's objectives. We're going to go over, we will talk about how you can enhance your awareness of your own personal study habits, right? And your study skills and behaviors. And you do have behaviors. And sometimes, just like any other thing in our life, our own behaviors are sometimes our biggest obstacle, right? And I don't know if you guys ever heard of the TV psychologist here in the United States, Dr. Phil, says you cannot fix what you're not aware of, right? If you don't realize you're doing it, how can you make it better? And then we're going to talk about study plans, right? Because I think one of the biggest things I noticed is this like kind of up and down in motivation, right? If you have all this work coming out, how do you sustain that motivation? And students start out strong and they want to, do really well, and they're going to get A's and they're going to do this, but is it sustainable? Right? So if you're going to go diving head fast, right into it, sometimes that's not always the best way to do it, right? So sometimes slow and steady really does win the race. And you want to try and develop these habits that are sustainable over time. Okay. So, all right. And then two, we're going to talk about, I didn't see you there at the bottom, Adam. I had to move down so I could see you. We're going to talk about.
Oh no, it's okay. My internet was acting funky, so it disconnected. That's why I'm back.
Yeah, these are the trials and tribulations of doing it online, right? Don't worry about it, guys. If you're having internet issues, I'm not going anywhere. So we're going to talk about a variety of techniques, right? So I don't even know if you're aware of the fact that there actually are techniques for studying, right? Different ways to do it. And I like to make this comparison between, I don't know, if you're someone that's into physical fitness or exercise, right? Everyone in my family kept telling me, you have to do weights, you got to work out with weights. I don't like to do that. And if I try doing weight training, I'm not going to stick with it because I don't like it, right? So I do my own thing that works for me and I feel good, right? So that's the same way that you have to approach studying. Find techniques and ways that are going to work for you. Okay. I can give my students suggestions. I can try and, tell them to do things that I think are going to work, but I'm been doing this long enough. And I have 4 kids of my own that, between grammar school all the way up through college, that I've seen some things work, some things don't. So you have to figure out what's best for you. But we're going to look at different ways. So not just for studying for test taking, getting your assignments completed, right? If you're spending hours and hours working on assignments, we have to make that more doable. It's got to become more manageable. Then too, I don't know if you've ever experienced this. I know depending on the subject matter, retaining that information. So if you've ever studied all night and you get up in the morning and you think, oh my God, I don't even remember what I looked at. That's a problem, right? And then too, really big important part of being successful and studying is trying to get that stress level down. And when you get to campus in a normal semester, like a normal year, hopefully next fall, and you see what the libraries and the cafeterias and everything looks like at midterms and in the fall, you will see what I mean by stress. Right? It's through the roof. You can walk into a library and it's palpable. So that's what I want to talk about. All right, we're going to look at different ways to do that. So have any of you really thought about how you study?
I have.
You have? Okay. So do you think that, would you consider yourself to be kind of aware of your study habits and the way that you're doing things?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm going to put this in the chat. It's a link and it's really short. You can open it up. I think there's maybe 10 questions on here. Oops, I'm sorry. You know what? It's the wrong one. I apologize because I was sending, let me get the link for you. I was the Zoom link I was sending to Hassan. Let me share it. So you can see this, it's just a quick survey. Give me 1 minute once it's loading. And I want you to just take a minute, read the questions and mark it off. I'll give you a minute to read it and look at it once I put the link in the chat for you so you can look at it yourself. Why is my internet so slow? I don't know if it's me that's slow or Google. I apologize. Close that. Try it again. feel like this is Google. Give me one moment. Let me try and get to the document. I'm going to do this differently. I apologize. I'm going to go this way. I'm going to log in twice, and I'm just going to put it in the chat for you. Copy the link. My Duo logo. I apologize. Okay. Okay. Okay, 2 more minutes.
I can't open it.
You're not able to open it?
No, it said that the application Google Chrome is not open anymore. I don't know.
It's just the Google Doc is not open anymore?
When I click the link like you sent, right?
Yeah.
And then the next page said the application Google Chrome is not open anymore. I don't know why.
Okay, let me put it up on the screen for you. I'll share the screen with you. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. I apologize. Share. Okay. Are you able to see it, Hassan?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to try and see if I can get a shareable link there for you. The link is in the chat if you want to just go from, take that link, but it's not working for you because I see the others are able to get in.
Yeah, it's not working for me. I don't know why.
Okay, I'll just scroll down so you could see them.
Okay.
Okay. Are you logged in through your Lehigh account? Because sometimes that'll do it too. Okay, so I'll give you a couple more minutes. Yeah, if you're trying to log into a Lehigh document, you're not signed in through your Lehigh account, sometimes it won't let you in.
Yeah, I'm signed in with my Lehigh account, but it's not.
Okay.
uh,
All right, so I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint for a second.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Everyone is able to see the screen, the PowerPoint? Is it loading? Give me one moment. All right. So I'm going to go to the next slide. Have you done a Slido before? Have any of you done these before in the past? You can use your cell phone and scan the QR code, and it will take you into the Slido. Okay. So you could just use your phone. I'm going to log in with you. And you could just scan it with your camera and it should take you right in. It should say open Slido. And now what I want you to do is think about the results that you got on what you just took in the survey, right? How you're studying right now, things that you're doing right now, right? What type of a studier are you? Where are your biggest challenges? The areas where you checked off that maybe a 1, even a 2, of those areas that where maybe you felt like you're not doing quite as strong, add them into the Slido so that we can see your results. Oh, sorry. Okay. So once we start going into Slido, we should be able to start seeing the results. I'll give you a minute to go in and just add in your results. Okay, so sometimes it's hard to follow a specific study schedule. Okay, anybody else? Other results that you have, other answers?
Me, I just answered the question. Is it fine?
Go
Yeah.
ahead, put in there things that you, yep, what are the things that you're trying? Sometimes it's hard to follow a schedule. I'm just gonna go through. If you want to identify that if it's yours, you can. I'm just gonna go through some of the answers that I see popping up. The biggest challenge comes when it comes to studying. Is it under a lot of pressure to finish all of my assignments? Yeah. How many of you are taking more than 4 classes if you're an undergrad? Okay, Norman and Hassan and Max, I see that you're taking more than 4. Adam, are you taking more than 4 classes? Jordan, how many?
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. I believe I'm going to be taking 4 in the spring.
Okay. So I mean, everyone is, if you're a full-time student, you're at 12 and above, 12 credits and above. So that's usually 4 to, some people take up to 6 classes. I've seen students carrying a very heavy load. So, okay. Concentrating in class is challenging, especially when the professor doesn't explain every concept. Do you find, any of you, that certain subjects are harder to do this with than others? Yeah. Especially if you're not interested in the subject, right? So if it's something that you're not particularly interested in, so studying much more time consuming, this makes studying much more time consuming and difficult. So if the professor isn't explaining every concept and you're, especially as an online student, it's kind of on you to really carry the other, remaining, amount of that time that you got to put into trying to figure out everything for the class. And I know when I was an online student, I felt like, the material was put there online and then it was on me to figure it out, right? I had to do all the readings. I had to do the discussion boards. I had to prepare for quizzes and tests, any kind of huge assignments like research papers, presentations, things like that. It got really overwhelming. So I know that all of those can be challenging. So as a teacher, I mean, most teachers are also students. So we do realize that. I hope you know that. Okay. Anybody else that had anything else that they noticed? Like, what are your biggest challenges from that self-assessment? Was there anyone that maybe noticed maybe where they're kind of falling short on study behaviors? Because you got to get real. You have to be able to recognize what is it that you're not doing, right? Those are the things that you have to start thinking about. Okay, so let's go to the
I have
next.
a quick question. I have a quick question. I just want to understand what you mean. I follow sound tests, taking strategies. Yeah, just a question.
Yep. So like if there are things that you notice that you do. So I know some of my own weaknesses. I know that I get very distracted by things easily, right? So if I'm studying, I know that there are certain areas that, certain things that will distract me, right? If you're someone that studies, do you always have your cell phone right by you? Things like that, right? We have to start looking at our own behaviors. Do you leave things until the last minute? Those are behaviors, right? Do you know if you have a test in the morning? Do you take time to study during the day, or do you wait till right before you go to bed at night? And are you tired, right? But then I know other people who function really well at night. Like, I'm not a morning person. You'll never see me at an 8 a.m. class if I am absolutely don't have to do it, right? So getting to know who you are and what works best for you is really important. Got to get to know yourself. So some of the warning signs that when you start to know studying is not something that you do just before a test. It's not something that you do just before you have to do a homework or you have a class the next day. It really has to become part of your life as a student. You're an academic now. And I think even for a lot of students, switching, and I don't know, Jordan, you may want to talk to, a little bit to this too, because you're more of an experienced student as well. It takes a while to make that mental shift, to see yourself when you come out of high school, to really appreciating yourself as part of an academic community, right? And studying has to become, it's just part of who you are. It's your job now if you're a student. So these are just some of the things that I notice in students and that I've heard from students. So when these are like little signal signs, when it's taking you all night to get homework done, If you're sitting there for hours, and I know a lot of my students in my writing classes, they'll tell me that they worked for 3 hours last night on an outline. And I'm thinking, 3 hours to get a thesis statement or an outline done, like something's not right there. If you notice that your assignments are piling up and you're missing them, deadlines, you're missing deadlines, right? A big indicator, your grades are dropping, right? If you notice the grades are starting to fall, catch that in the beginning. And then two, and I think this is a huge one, when your attitude or your mood starts to change, right? If you feel like your confidence is starting to lack, your motivation is starting to lack, when you hear yourself, that negative self-talk, I can't do this. This is too hard. The teacher doesn't like me, right? When you start hearing those things in your head, you know, all right, I got it. I have to do something. So these excuses and the rationalization, well, we're taking classes online and we're in the middle of a pandemic. It's not my fault, right? You start rationalizing everything. And some of that is true, but it all doesn't mean that you can't do something about it. And then when skill gaps become apparent. So now I think this is really important for anyone who plans on maybe one day working with students, right? Like if you notice that, other students in the class seem to already know something and you missed it. Well, what can you do? Right? Or maybe some students came into a class already at a certain level, but you didn't take those courses before. Right? But being aware of that and knowing what you have to do about it is the important thing. And then I think a lot of times I hear this, I don't know how to study. Right? How do I even begin here? How do I even approach a subject sometimes? These are the things that are really warning signs. And I want to stress to you that, there's help for you at Lehigh. We have a lot of support for students. And just these workshops to start thinking about it are one of the, it's the very beginning. And the fact that you're here is because you want to do better, right? That tells me right there, you want to do better. When you see yourself starting to get very disorganized. Now, if you're like me, I'm not the most organized person as it is. So when I start noticing that I'm unorganized, I know I'm in trouble. Okay. Even sometimes my physical surroundings, if I see things starting to get really messy, it's like, okay, I have to step back here. I got to do something. When you start feeling alone and you start feeling unsupported, right? Like you don't even know where to go for help. Those are signs of trouble. So what I like you to do is I'm going to give you a couple of minutes, 2 minutes in a breakout room. I'm just going to randomly put you in a breakout room. And I kind of want to know, and I'm going to give you some time to talk to each other, especially because some of you are going to be in classes together. I think it's a good thing. What was it like for you this semester? Right? What are some of the things that you noticed this semester that just passed that, if you saw things that maybe at different points where you started to feel like, okay, this is getting difficult for me. Okay. So share your experiences. How do you know when it's time to adjust your study habits and, and share with each other because we all went through it. What were some of the things this semester that you felt like, all right, this is difficult. The road ahead's getting a little bumpy. Okay. Anybody have a question? 2 minutes. Okay. Jordan? Jordan?
Oops, I clicked the wrong button.
You clicked the wrong one. That's okay.
Sorry.
Don't worry about it. No, that, I was pulling everybody out anyway. I was pulling them back. So don't worry about it. They should be logged out in a minute. They have 31 seconds. Everybody back? Okay. All right. So what were some of the things this fall semester? And be honest with me, you know, especially if you're going to be in my classes, it's good to let me know like where some of the trouble spots are, right? What were some of the things that you noticed in the fall where you started to note that things are going downhill a little bit? And that doesn't mean that you did poorly this semester. It just means that you started to know there was some rough patches along the way. What were some of the things that got in your way? Even if you were in my class, I'm not going to get insulted. What was it, Norman?
Yeah, I think as for me, like when things are really tough for me, I cannot sleep. So usually when I start noticing like my sleeping pattern is changing, like I'm sleeping for less than 4 hours, then yeah, I don't know, I cannot sleep if I have some like work that needs to be done. So yeah, I think that is one thing that I noted during the fall semester.
That's, and you're not alone. That's a lot of a lot of people. And at the very end of this, we talk a little bit about the actual physical toll that it starts to take on you. Yeah, if you're someone that is going to be like kept up by these things, and once you start losing sleep and getting tired, that's just a vicious cycle. So that's a good point. Anybody else? Things that you noticed?
Yeah, for me, like I'm not a super organized person. So in the beginning of the semester, the library will open, so I can print out notes from the teacher's slides and take notes on the notes sheet. And then the library closed, I have to start taking notes on my notebook. And then when the semester come to an end, I have to take the exam. So there's like a couple notes missing. So that was kind of difficult for me. Yeah.
That's actually really important, Max, because one of one of the next workshops that we're doing after this, a follow-up to this, is note taking. Because there's different ways to take notes. And if you're not taking good notes, especially now when you don't have access to everything like you're saying, that can be really stressful, right? So we are actually doing a note-taking workshop on how to do that. And especially on Zoom, when sometimes you feel like the teacher's moving so quickly, like slides are changing and information's popping up. And so, yeah, that can definitely be a problem. And you don't have the material to go back to before tests. So anybody else that noticed that they had some problems, especially if it's online or anything like that?
Yes, I did. So before I went to college, I heard like freshman is easy because you don't have like a lot of classes. You can just enjoy your life. But that wasn't the case for me. Like my first semester, I think I did a mistake by taking like a lot of classes, and then because I like math and physics, I thought like it's gonna be easy for me, but I took two math classes and then two physics classes. Uh, and then the first couple of months was kind of hard because of my soccer team too. So I have to train the afternoon, and I'm gonna get tired at at, uh, at the evening, and I have to do all of my homework and stuff. So I didn't have time to do all of my homework at the same time. So I was just choosing the classes like I like to do, like math and physics. And there's one like I don't actually want, I can do it later. If I'm done, that's fine. If I'm not, that's how it is. And then, but when the soccer team shut down, I was kind of,
Okay.
back on track.
Okay. Anybody else that's doing a sport or anything else too while they're here? If you're going to do clubs and sports and all those extracurricular things too, that is also something you've got to build into your routine. Not just the athletes. I mean, there are other students that are involved heavily in maybe other, campus activities and stuff. So these are things that, you do want to start working into your lifestyle. All right. So that's important. So where do you begin, right? How do you approach studying so that you do get a better handle on this, right? Improving your study mindset. Again, like I said, you have to start envisioning yourself differently. You're not just, and I think Hassan, that switch from high school, people said it was going to be easy freshman year. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, right? I mean, that's not always the case. It could be a big adjustment, especially when, again, you're doing this in the middle of a pandemic. I don't think anything is normal for freshmen that came in this year, right? So here are just some things to keep in mind. And I will share my PowerPoint with you guys. You can have this later because there's some links and stuff in here. I'll make sure they're open to you. Aiming to think positively when you study, right? So like Hassan, like you said, like, oh, I'll get to that later, right? You got to remind yourself of your own skills and your own abilities. I mean, you know what you're capable of. Norman, if you know that this is going to keep me up all night if I don't get it done, sometimes it's better to spend that 20 minutes and take a look at it and just get yourself started so that you can, rest easier. And again, self-awareness. I think this is really important, this catastrophic thinking, avoiding it. Oh, it's a mess. I'm failing it anyway. I'm never going to get this done. Getting a little bit of it done is better than getting none of it done, right? So thinking, oh, it's just too late, why even bother attitude is definitely not the best way to go, okay? And then avoiding this absolute thinking, right? I always mess this up. I didn't do well on it the last time. How am I going to hold my grade up at this point? Don't think of it that way. You really have to start changing and remembering that your best effort, you can only do what you can do. And a big part of that is staying in contact with your teachers too, right? I always tell my students, you have to let me know what's going on because I can't read your mind. And then avoid comparing yourself with others in the class. When you see other students or your friends, or maybe you had a brother or a sister that school came really easy to them, right? And we try comparing ourselves to other people. Well, guess what? You're not them and they're not you. So that's really important. We want to, you want to change how you focus on it. Focus on you, be accountable to you, because getting the work done is your responsibility. How you do is going to be only for you, not for anybody else. And one of the most important things you can do to start learning that, I'm putting this link in the chat for you, but we're not going to do this now. Has anyone taken the VARK questionnaire before? Has anyone done that before? VARK? It's an online questionnaire. It's really interesting. So VARK stands for visual, oral or auditory, hearing, read, write, or kinesthetic. So if you are visual, you learn by seeing it. If you're auditory, if someone tells you how to do it, if they explain it to you, I tend to be more read, write. Let me read it, let me figure it out, and then I can learn it. Or if you're kinesthetic, if you're the type of person that has to get in there tactile and do it, hands-on kind of learner, right? Knowing how you learn best is also going to help you. It's going to help you kind of also adapt how you do things, right? It's, being aware of yourself, that attitude of getting to know yourself a little bit better. If you know that you're a visual learner, then if you have a class where your teacher is putting up videos, you're probably okay, right? Explanations on video, you're good. But what if you are a kinesthetic learner and you really need to get hands-on or you need some movement? Sitting on Zoom all day, that's going to drive you nuts. My son is a high school senior this year. This is killing him. It's just not working for him. He's very kinesthetic. He has to do things. He has to move. So you have to be able to know yourself well enough to know that, okay, I need to adapt what I'm doing here. Okay, maybe, knowing how to break up your studying and your schoolwork and setting yourself a schedule. So as someone who is admitting that I am not the most organized person, I do think I called it my routine, right? While I'm in quarantine, developing a routine for yourself is important. And we can all fall into a rut right now. If you're at home, if you're sitting in the dorms and nobody's around, you're not allowed to really go anywhere. We lose almost a sense of time. Has anybody woken up and said, I don't even know what today's date is yet? Right? Well, I don't even, what's today's date, right? I don't, sometimes, I mean, it's bad when you don't even know what day of the week it is. That's bad. But we can start to fall into that rut. So maintaining a sense of normalcy during a time that is anything but normal. Make yourself get dressed. Have you attended class in your pajamas yet? No, you get yourself dressed? Nobody's done that? Okay. I've had students that come to class, physically come to class in their pajamas. So I'm proud of you. You know, get dressed, eat your breakfast, attend your classes, right? I know on Zoom, it's really, really kind of, you start thinking, I don't need to do this, right? I'll look and see if they send out the recording. It is important to be there. Try and maintain a schedule. It's going to reduce your stress. It's going to help you stay focused. And when you have someone like me, when you attend classes that are going to be nagging you to get things done, it's going to prevent that procrastination. When your teacher is there and they're telling you this assignment's due, this quiz is coming up, this test is there, it does prevent you putting those things off. Okay. Get organized and structure your time effectively. Are you guys using Google Calendars? Or are you using some kind of a calendar in your phone or something? Adam, you are? I see you shaking your head. Okay, good. Max, you're doing that? It's, you know, at first it may seem like a pain to have to go and put everything on a calendar, but I have with a reminders pop up. I think it's important. CoreSite has reminders when you have work coming due, right? So checking those and making sure. I mean, there's no excuse anymore. I mean, set Siri, make her remind you if you don't want to do it yourself. Siri, I have a test on Thursday, right? There's literally no reason not to do it anymore. So use that technology. It's, you know, it's use it to your advantage, right? And then planning ahead, set little, you can set on your calendar when you know, if you know you have a term paper due on next Thursday, you really should have a reminder set on your phone for the Thursday or Friday before, right? If this test is coming up, if this paper is coming up, you should not leave it to study the night before. We're going to talk about ways that you could break that up. Start writing it into your routine. And then I really recommend setting specific time slots for certain things, right? Time slots to do homework, and homework is separate from studying. They're two totally different things. You have your assignments and your homework that you need to do. The studying is in addition to that. Okay. So if you set up a time where, you know what, this is my time I go to the gym. I don't know if you guys all work out or whatever. This is the time I go for a walk. This is the time I like to watch music or play video games and clear my head for a while. Fine. Give yourself an hour or two to do that. But when that hour or two is up, you do need to keep to that, you know, that 30, 45 minutes of studying. Let me just go, you know, read through my book. Let me read that article I need for class, right? If you start just scheduling time the same way you would for runs and workouts and video games or music or time with your friends, it starts to become part of your routine. It becomes a habit. And that's what I mean when I say study habits. And again, you're here for 4 years. Some of you are here for more than that, right? If you plan on going to grad school, this is going to be your life. So make it a habit, make it part of your life. And then be realistic. I'm not just a teacher. I mean, I'm a mom. I see it. You got to be realistic. Like I know like some students can sit and focus for 2 hours, 3 hours and plow through it. Some people can't do that. Right? So be realistic, structure your sessions to fit your schedule. If you have practices or to set, you know, your learning style. If you are a kinesthetic learner, if you've got to move, don't do 3-hour stretches because that's going to drive you crazy and you're going to tune out. Do 40 minutes and get up and go for a walk, go get something to eat. Right? improve that self-awareness. So setting yourself these manageable, achievable goals. So I'm not going to go in the breakout room. I want to do a talk with you when we're done with this, but I want to see like how you can relate this to other ways in your life, right? Building in rewards and breaks for yourself. And then kind of nurturing your own well-being, which I think, Norman, is part of what you're saying there. When you start feeling yourself getting sick or so stressed, it's done. It gets too hard. So I'm not going to go into the breakout room because it's a small enough group that we can talk. Do you have other areas in your life where you built in routines? And I'll give you an example, because since we're home, I mean, when I was working, it was different because I have about a 45-minute commute, but now I'm home every night. I have 4 kids, 2 dogs, a cat, a husband. Every night at 8 o'clock, I take time for me since I'm home. I do yoga. Sometimes I just go up there and I say I'm doing yoga, but I just watch TV, right? But that 8 o'clock slot is for me. And that's it. Every Sunday night, not going for manicures or anything anymore, I do my nails. So what are some things in your life where you have set aside times, where you have built in routines for yourself that are important to you? What are some things that you do? What's all about you, Norman? I see you smiling, right? Do you guys do that?
Yeah, as for me, like I tend to listen to music. Like I just feel like after a long day, I usually start my day at 7 a.m. Then up to 4 p.m. So usually 4 to 6, I know that I'm not like efficient. So I sleep for 1 hour, 30 minutes, then 30 minutes I listen to music. Just refreshing. So I'm more like into music and just sitting. Like it's more like just sitting, trying to connect with nature. So yeah.
And do you feel like your mood changes when you do that, right? Okay. Hassan, what about you? Because I know when you have your workout schedule with soccer and stuff like that, right? So you have to have a really big routine around training, correct?
Yes, that's true.
And
What I do always every night before I go to sleep is I watch like a soccer video about motivation every night before I go to sleep.
really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's
So
that's
just like,
interesting.
I like to watch like story about like how players got to their level,
Hmm.
So I like to watch, just to motivate myself every night before I go to sleep. To know tomorrow I have to do better and better and better.
Well, if they could do it, you could do it, right? Okay. What about you, Adam? Do you have any routines, things that you like to do just in your own thing, just for you?
Um,
Even if it's just going for a walk or something, do you have?
I would just say taking time to read. I try to read at night.
Okay. If you're like me, I need to read every day. Do you like to read?
Yeah, it's just unfortunate. I've pretty much gone through every book in the house, read them at least 10 times each.
Really? What
Yeah,
about
I've run out of things to read.
doing like an ebook thing, like reading online? I don't like it as much, but if you want, I have a bunch of free books I could give you links to.
Yeah, we have a Kindle or like some of the online stuff, but I don't know. I just prefer the physical book.
I do too. I do too. There's it's hard when right now is very difficult, especially if you're someone that likes that just to hold something in your hands. Um, I don't know if Lehigh is doing it right now. I can look it up if you want to hold on for a minute after the workshop, but I know they were actually mailing the interlibrary loans. They were mailing books to students. So if you're in the US, they might be able to help you with that right now. So if you want afterwards, I can give you the link for Palsy.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. What about you, Max? Do you do anything just for you?
Yeah, I just had this one recently, like in this winter break. I started doing like a skincare routine every time I get up after the shower, do a little face cleanser and some moisturizers thing, moisturize my face. Yeah, and I feel like better than ever about my face. So yeah.
It's just doing little things. Jordan, are you here? Do you do anything? Are you doing anything to keep yourself sane right now, like building routines in? I know Jordan has a lag. We went through this all through the fall, the internet issues in China. Um, if you do these things though, these little things, like I know even with the reading, I wake up in the morning sometimes and I will lay in bed for 20 minutes and read on my phone. Just a blog, I don't care, right? Just to read. Little things like that. And you know, if you like to work out or things like that, when you're done doing it, facial routines, my nail routine, right? They make you feel better. You get it done. You feel like a sense of accomplishment, right? Watching a video that's motivational, you get a sense of accomplishment. So that's what I'm hoping, that if you start setting a routine for yourself with studying, and it's like anything else, start small. I always tell people, do not go, don't dive in head first. Even if you start little changes in your behavior, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it's going to make a difference. And when you start doing it, if you say this semester, when you start the spring semester, you know what your classes are. So if you know that I have a physics class, it's going to be tough. And you know what? Every Thursday night for 15 minutes, I'm just going to reread my notes from the class. That's studying, right? Little bit at a time rather than crashing it. And it's going to make life more manageable for you. All right. The other thing too, and I say, where you study is important, so mark your turf. This can be more difficult if you are in a house with brothers and sisters and parents who are working and stuff like that. It could be really difficult. But it's important to find a place where you can concentrate, where you can work uninterrupted, and where you can be comfortable. So now, what happened when the library closed? Those of you that were on campus, where did you study when you couldn't get into the libraries anymore?
I actually never went to the library to study.
Really?
I don't like it.
No?
I
Okay.
to study in my own room at night at 3 a.m., 2 a.m. where my friends are sleeping, just myself. Yeah, but I don't like to go to like a public, study spot. So
Okay.
I've never been there.
I always study, I like hanging out in my room, just sitting on my bed studying. Even now, I finished grad school, my second round of grad school, 2014. So even in my 40s, I would sit in my room and study, right? Anybody else? If you were on campus, and where did you go to study?
Yeah, I used to go to the library sometimes. Yeah, like maybe just I think sometimes I won't go there because like the period is just too short for me, like 6 to 9. So yeah, I don't cover that much. So yeah, I end up like studying in my own room just to make sure like, yeah, I just feel like if I sit maybe at any place, it's much easier for me to focus for a longer period of time rather than to study for 3 hours in the library, then come back again, then try to build that environment or that atmosphere to focus. So yeah, I end up studying in my own home.
Okay. Anybody that's at home right now taking classes from home, do you find it's more challenging? Are you guys all on we're all on campus?
I'm at home, but I don't find it really that difficult. I just go in the basement.
Okay, that's where I am right now. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing is to kind of mark your turf, like find somewhere where you know that you're going to be okay. And it could be little things that are distracting you, right? So once again, those learning preferences. Are you going to be able to get up and move if you do have to move around? If you're that type of person that gets antsy, can you move around, right? For me, the big thing is the lighting, because I know if I'm trying to read things, it could be difficult if the lighting isn't good, right? Um, will you have access to that spot routinely? That's another thing, right? So even at Lehigh, like I always tell students, it's the libraries and all are packed during those test taking, like during 4 o'clocks and stuff. It gets really hectic. So you may have a favorite spot and you could go there and somebody's in your spot, right? So that's one of the things, like I think if you do have somewhere personal, a private spot that you could go to, it does help. And then sometimes I think we're our own worst enemies. I mean, do you shut your phone off when you're studying? Shaking your head, no. Really? You don't shut it off?
I
Have you
typically don't have it around.
Good. Good. That's even better. Because then even if it's there, it could be a distraction. Right?
I don't, uh,
Go ahead, Hassan.
I don't know if it is weird or not, but I like to listen to music when I'm doing science.
There's research on that goes both ways. There's some people that say, oh, you can't multitask. I like background noise. So I'm one of those people that I sometimes will do that too. Again, I think you really have to know yourself, right? I mean, if you're sitting there and you're dancing and, singing to the music and you're trying to do, math studying, there's definitely an issue there. But I like sometimes when it's too quiet, I get a little uncomfortable. So I do like it too, but it's up to you. I do think a low traffic area is usually a better thing where you don't have people coming in and talking to you and disturbing you and interrupting you. Because once you lose focus, especially if it's a friend and it's like, oh, what are you doing? Where are you going? Those are things that can kind of make things difficult. So again, looking for good lighting, getting together everything that you need, because that's another thing. If you go to a library and then it's, oh, I left this at my dorm, your notes are in your dorm. I mean, so you really have to gather what you need if you're going to do that. If you're at home, that makes life a little bit easier if you're in your own room. And try and leave what you don't need. If you don't need it, don't bring it because it's just going to be a distraction. And then I don't know about you, but if I'm hungry, I am not focusing. So you got to make sure that, that even you're comfortable, right? Bring a snack. If you're someone that's got a snack while you're eating. My college snack was peanut M&Ms. My girlfriends and I would get peanut M&Ms and we would sit and study. So you got to do what works for you. And to go back to what Norman said, to be well rested. Because if you're tired, and there are going to be times that that's not going to be possible, that you are going to be tired and you're going to have to study. But the goal is to try not to do that. Okay. So I just want to give you a minute. I want to show you this movie quickly. I'm going to share my sound with you.
Our brain can potentially memorize 2.5 petabytes of information, which is roughly the equivalent of 3 million hours of YouTube videos. In order to use some of that staggering capacity a little more effectively when you learn, here are some tips that are based on widely accepted research by neuroscientists and learning experts. Spaced repetition. To maximize your learning, study short but often. Neuroscientists proved that synapses, the billion connectors in your brain that make you remember and understand stuff, grow mainly at night when you were asleep. This means that it is more productive to study regularly with sleeping breaks in between. Try it. Practice something for 15 minutes every day and you'll be surprised by your progress within just weeks. Find your own style. While listening to the history teacher, Tom scribbles images and Jane finishes 1 kilo of nuts. Some enjoy watching videos over reading books, others study with friends, and some like sitting in silence among a million books. Everybody is different. Good night's sleep. Sleep and dreams are vital to processing and storing new information. A Harvard study showed that students who had a good night's sleep remembered their study materials 35% better than those who studied in the morning to take a test in the evening. Focus. If you tend to procrastinate, which means that you tend to switch from doing something hard like studying maths to something easy like browsing the web, protect yourself from distraction. One way of doing this is to shut down your mobile phone or go to a quiet place like a library. Pomodoro technique. Set a timer to 25 minutes when you focus entirely on your studies. When the timer rings, relax for 5 minutes. If you want to continue, just set the timer again. The small breaks in between are relaxing and motivating to keep going. Hard stuff first. Do the things that are difficult first, because if you are like most people, you have the strongest willpower in the morning. Once you are done with the hard stuff, you will feel better for the rest of the day and probably more motivated to get other things done. Exercise, meditate, and converse. There are few activities proven to grow your brain. However, physical exercise, regular meditation, and good conversations apparently do exactly that. They lead to the creation of new neurons inside your brain and therefore grow its potential. Go places. You can create deeper memories of a subject by learning in a richer environment that offers more visual clues. In an experiment, 2 groups of students had to remember random words. One group changed the classroom while studying, the other didn't. The group that studied in 2 different rooms, one was small and windowless, the other big and bright, was 40% more likely to recall the words later. Take fun seriously. Whatever it is, find a fun way to practice. Modern learning science believes that positive emotions are very important for increasing your learning potential. So do yourself a favor and have a good time. Space your studies. In order to remember things for a longer time, repeat the material in spaced intervals. Facts or vocabularies, for example, are best learned if you review them the first time 1 to 2 days after the initial study, and then again after 1 week and after 1 month. 30% read, 70% recite. If you have 1 hour to learn to recite a poem or prepare for a speech, spend 20 minutes of the time on studying the text and 40 minutes on practicing to recite. This ratio usually leads to the best results. In the case of an emergency, put a glass of water next to you. Take a sip whenever you lose it. Instant self-test. After you study, finish up with a quick quiz. Immediate recall in the form of a test or a short summary on what you've just learned can increase retention by as much as 30%. Because it's much harder for your brain to reflect than to read, that extra effort creates deeper traces in your memory. Don't force it. Motivation is like hunger. You cannot force yourself to be motivated, just like you can't tell someone else to be hungry. So if you are not hungry right now, don't worry. Take a break and do something else.
So I'm going to skip to the next slide here and go to this one. One of the things that they were talking about, and there was the reading, when they were talking about reflecting. The thing is to be able to work and with a way where you're thinking critically, right? So that you're not, I don't know if you have ever experienced where you're studying and you're reading, and then the next day you wake up. I do think that, yes, you do remember when you study at night, you wake up in the morning, unless if you're really not doing it effectively, if you're not thinking critically. So just mindlessly going through your notes is not always the best way to do it. So one of the things that they mentioned was this reflection, critical thinking. And that's where you take that information from what you've just seen, the short-term memory, and you're moving it into what you know, especially when you're having conversations and stuff about it. So one of the other things that I always recommend for studying is if you have someone in your class, a partner, if there is someone in the class, a study group that you can get into, that is really important. If you call or you go online to student affairs, academic affairs, there are tutoring groups, right? So you've got the writing center, you've got the math center. We have the track fellows program where they were doing a writing group, right? So whenever you're working with other people where you could start talking about it, you're not just reading something in one dimension, you're moving it to a whole nother level of your experience with the material. So these are 3 ways that we say that you could engage with the text more efficiently, rather than just mindlessly reading it. These are ways that you could actually start to do it in a scientific way, a technique. So I'm sure most of you have probably heard of the SQ3R or SQ4R, sometimes we call it, where you preview what you're reading, right? Look at it, maybe read the questions at the end of a chapter, Or if your teacher is giving you a study sheet, right? What are some of the questions before you start studying the facts, right? So that you can go back now and, go through it. And then once you're done, reflecting on it. And reflecting doesn't mean, well, what did I just read? It means trying to make connections with it. What do you know already? Right? Maybe something that you learned previously in another course, maybe something that you heard a high school teacher talking about once before, maybe something you did in a lab with somebody else. That's where the reflection comes in. I will give you this PowerPoint so that you have these and you can think about it and go back to it. And then I think recite is really important. I do this to myself sometimes and I hear students doing it. Sometimes you have to say it out loud. Kind of talk it through whether in your own head or talk it through with someone else. And you want to know what my best advice for that is? Use office hours. Talk it through with a TA. Talk it through with me if you're in my class and you need to brainstorm ideas. If you read it, you studied it, come to my office hours, go to your teacher's office hours and just tell them, I was looking at the notes last night and blah, blah, blah. That's why we have them. Because once you have a conversation with someone, you typically won't forget that, right? I mean, if you just read something, you may forget it. You just hear it, you may forget it. But when I've spoken to someone about it, I typically remember what I talked about. All right. So that's just one way to start moving that information to a whole nother level of memorizing it. And it doesn't even feel like studying sometimes because you're having a conversation. So then this here kind of outlines exactly what that is. It's basically what I told you. And like I said, I'll give you the PowerPoint so you could read through this yourself and kind of see which one of these would work for you. Do you question the material? Do you believe everything you read? That's another thing. In English classes, we give you guys a lot of articles to read and stuff. Do you believe everything? Maybe your experience was different. Question it, right? Bring those questions to class. I love when students come in and challenge me. Let's have a debate, right? So do that with your classmates even. Talking to them about it. What did you think of this? What did you do? What did you understand what they were talking about? Those are all ways to actually engage with the material. Now, this, I think, is a little bit more individual where you could study on your own. And I do this myself, especially if I'm in a rush. It's called Thieves. The title, the headings, I read the introduction of things, the first sentence of every paragraph. Are there words or visuals that maybe things that are bolded? Looking at those questions at the end of the chapter. And then I try and summarize things for myself. So if I'm studying something that I need to go back, I read this, but I need to go back and redo it. You don't need to reread the whole textbook. Study more efficiently. And I guarantee you, once you start looking at maybe the abstracts and you start looking at the vocabulary and some of the images, things will come back to you. You'll remember it in the end. Okay. So these are ways that you could just break it down and start to make yourself studying more efficiently. Because if you sit there looking at a stack of notes like this and you think, oh my God, I got to read all that tonight, that's going to hurt your motivation. It's just going to go whoop, right down. So finding ways to do it more effectively is what's going to be a little bit more helpful for you. Okay. This is what was just in the video. Small chunks, quizzing yourself, alternating topics, right? Making visual connections. That's what in the video, that's what they were talking about. I have not myself tried these. My kids have tried them. I know my daughter has used Quizlet. Using some of the apps on your phone. She's a junior in college this year. And she does use these apps and things like that. So there are study apps that will quiz you on the material. If you rent any of your textbooks, like Chegg is a textbook rental company, Amazon does it too. They sometimes will have flashcards and stuff set up that you could go in and quiz yourself on the chapters. Google it. I know Norton has all of the chapters in the Norton textbook that I use has a PowerPoint that you could go through and read the summaries. So use the technology. It is your friend. And then lastly, this is what we talked about. We kind of already had this discussion of what do you do, right? How are you de-stressing? What are things that you're doing? Prioritize your time. eat healthy, sleep, exercise. I find it very difficult to meditate because my head goes in 100 different directions, but I do reflect. I do like to do that. Build up a support system. You know, you took this workshop with me. If you took a class with me last semester and maybe something you're struggling, well, I'm here. You know what? If you're having a hard time, you could email me, even if you're not in my class, and say, listen, I feel like I'm falling behind in this class. Could you tell me where I could go to maybe get some help? Make me part of your support system. Okay. Build a support system. I guarantee you, if you throw out in the chat on a Zoom class, anybody that wants to get together for a study session, hit me up, right? If you just put it out in the chat, I guarantee you there are other people in the class that are in the same thing, but you got to take the risk. You got to put it out there. Engage with your peers. Reach out for other campus members to help you. The Writing Center, the Academic Center, the Student Affairs, Academic Services, they are there for you, okay? And then the other thing that I think is important, not only just because I'm so invested in the club, but getting involved in the Lehigh After Darks, getting involved in things that are going on. Right now they're on Zoom and it's not anybody's ideal situation, but get involved. It's going to help you stay motivated. Connect with other students. Misery loves company, guys. You know, when you get to be with other students and you just clear your head doing stuff and you see other people online too, it's going to help you de-stress. It's going to help you feel more connected to the campus. You know, it's nice to meet people on Zoom and then maybe, you know what I mean, when you bump into them on campus in a couple of weeks. All of that, I think, is helpful. So those are some tips, just some of the advice. I will give this to you right now. Give me a second. I was asked to share this with you. I'm going to stop sharing now and put this in the chat. This is a survey that Mrs. Newbegin gave me and asked me to share with you guys for the workshop. But before you go, I just want to see what you think. Just any last minute questions, anything that you think you might be willing to try, or maybe you're not sure of where you could get some help on campus, that maybe I could give you some direction. One of the things too that I know, if you are writing papers, I had Heather Simino and Carrie Baldwin Sorrell are our librarians. Did you know that our librarians have office hours? You could go on to Zoom and pop into open office hours with a librarian and get help on a paper rather than struggling on your own, right? Help with your citations. If you can't find the research, they're there to help you. So there's plenty of help out there for, you know, to make sure that you stay on target, make sure that you feel supported. If you are in a situation and you're not sure where to go, shoot me an email. I'm going to put my email into the chat for you too. I will not forget you because I remember names, especially if you were in my workshops with me. So if you email me and say, oh, I was in that, you know, study workshop and I really need some help with this, do you know where I could go? I would be more than happy to point you in the right direction if I can. Okay. Anybody have any questions? Let me give you the PowerPoint. Let me give that to you as well. I said I would share that with you. So before you go, and it's anyone at Lehigh. So you need to be logged in through your Lehigh email, and then you can open the PowerPoint. I'm putting it in the chat right now for you. Okay, so you have my PowerPoint there with the SQ3R and Thieves method. The Thieves method works. Any questions or anything? Last ideas, anything like that? No, we just gotta hang in for a little bit more, right? It's almost over and soon we will all be on campus and life will go back to normal, and then you'll see what it gets like when it gets really hectic. But I kind of feel like when we're on campus, it's a different kind of energy because you see all these other students are running around trying to prepare for exams and stuff, and you kind of get psyched into that energy itself. So this is a little bit different, right? If you guys are all good, thank you for doing this with me tonight. If you have any questions, you can email me. If you'd like to note the note-taking workshop, if you want to kind of go into that a little bit and see what are some of the techniques, Cornell method, mind mapping method, things like that, you can join us for the note-taking as well. Okay? Have a good night, everybody, or have a good day, depending on where you are.
You.
Bye, Norman. It was nice seeing you.
Right.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, Adam and Max. It was nice meeting you. I'll see you next week, Hassan. Hey, Jordan, are you here?